You know, Steve, I am so excited to finally meet you in person. I'm a huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
Steve,
well, the pleasure's all mine.
Steve Gaspar, welcome to a sustainable world that we're starting to develop. So I wanted to talk to you because you and I have spoken over the years.
Yes, we have.
About severe weather, extreme weather, and what on earth is going on. So we're going to talk about sustainable behavior. We're going to talk about the concerns that we have about the environment. But before we get there, what is important here is to really emphasize that you are an artist, a musician, and you, Steve, have the potential to really make a change and inspire people to help the environment, help save the environment. So, Steve, let's talk about the fact that you are a native nutmegger. You're from Connecticut.
Yes, I am. Born and raised.
In?
Trumbull, Connecticut.
In Trumbull, Connecticut. So
Yeah.
So did you go to Trumbull High?
I did.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, as long as you don't ask me the year, we're good. We're okay.
1999. Okay, yeah,
Right.
we're within there.
That's exactly
I
right.
love it. So, Steve, you are a Grammy-nominated artist.
I am.
And I want to know more about you, but I also know you have a band.
Yes, I do.
And so I'm kind of going to lean towards the band first because you have a very impressive group behind you. So apart from you, Grammy-nominated artist, songwriter, in fact, you've had hit songs on TV. Who are your partners in this?
Well, I'm very, very fortunate through all of that work that I've done to meet some really incredible artists. And about 4 or 5 years ago, got this brainstorm that I was going to put together my dream team of the finest musicians that I know, friends of mine, who have played with the Allman Brothers Band, Stevie Wonder, Sting, Tower of Power, James Brown, and the list goes on and on and on. And I wanted to put this group together, do it on my own terms, and go out and play songs by many of those artists we've all recorded with or toured with, and do our own spin on these songs. And the Hollywood All-Stars was born.
And it consists of a very impressive group of musicians.
It really, really is. I mean, currently it's at an 11-piece band. It's a full 3-piece horn section, Hammond organ, guitar, bass, drums. I had 3 vocalists on the show we did here at the Bijou 2 weeks ago, which sold out.
Sold out, that's right.
Big success. Huge. And I was happy to be able to introduce a lot of people to the theater.
Yes.
This really is a hidden gem in downtown Bridgeport.
It's gorgeous.
Isn't it cool?
It's absolutely beautiful.
It's a really cool
great
little
acoustics.
space. Yep.
So I think that this is like a wonderful way to introduce something like this to mainstream culture.
Absolutely.
So your band, though, I mean, I'd say a combined effort as far as years go in music.
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I'd say
it's
over
a lot of,
30, 40 years?
A lot of cool people.
Yeah.
A lot of good guys and girls.
A lot of great musicians. So you have this amazing group of musicians that you work with, but you lead the way. What is it that you kind of feel you bring within you personally that is, represents a great leader? Because, any great band has to have a great leader.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
And I mean, and especially with the mutual respect that's in this particular group, it really is something you have to do very carefully.
Okay, explain.
Everyone in this band is incredibly talented.
Okay.
Anyone in this band could lead their own band. But you're right, it does take a director, it does take one person to say, this is going to be the vision of this group. And my vision might be different than someone else's, but the Hollywood moniker sort of takes over.
Okay.
What do I mean by that?
Right.
I'm all about show business.
Okay.
I believe that show business is what makes the difference between going and see some band that's in the corner of a room wearing shorts they just came from a picnic in,
Okay.
to a band that's presented on a stage with lighting, with costumes, with polished performances. And I think polish is what's missing a lot these days. I miss it.
Interesting. So polish because you think that just isn't on trend right now, or do you feel that there is just such a huge change in the music industry that perhaps it's not what it used to be. Right?
Well, you know what? You bring up a very good point on trend. I think, yeah, and I'm afraid to say that because I don't want to sound like my father sounded to me.
Hey, I'm sure your father was pretty
when
cool.
I introduced him to the Beatles,
Uh-huh.
you know, but I do believe that, you know, music obviously has changed.
Right.
I'm not going to say for the better or worse, but there are differences.
Okay.
There still are acts, I believe, that do go out there and put on.
Like who?
Bruno Mars's band just blows me away.
Didn't he win like 8 Grammys this year?
Yes.
Okay.
A band like his is what this band, I don't want to say strives to be, but it sort of gives us a little bit of a benchmark. That's sort of where I
love
like
it,
to go.
and he's so young, and
Yes.
to know that he's so polished and put together, and that's an inspiration
Exactly.
for
And it's not so much the music, but the polish.
you. You're right. he's
You know, those
polished.
guys go out and they are on point all throughout the performance.
Interesting.
That's what the Hollywood All-Stars is, and there aren't a lot of bands like this around. I mean, there are a lot of great bands.
Okay.
Even in this area, I've always told people there's no shortage of talent. You could walk into any bar and listen to somebody sing or a great guitar player and sit there and go, oh my God, this person is sitting in the corner of Chuck's Steakhouse and he's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of talent, but I think what there is a shortage of is the desire not to do it for $1, but to do it because it's great.
You know, I love that you bring that up because you and I were talking off camera. It is about that passion. It's about that desire.
Right.
Working hard. You know, it takes hard work to be where you are, to be a professional musician who was Grammy nominated, has hit songs on American Idol. It's not easy.
No,
so
it's not.
it really takes that work. You know, when you look at Bruno Mars and you talk about how you're impressed, he's young, he's polished. I doubt that just came, you know.
Oh, no, those guys
he took it
live
for
together,
granted.
for God's sake.
Exactly. So you feel like music needs to amp it up as far as that inspiration
I'd
or
like to
motivation?
see more people strive to be, to put a little bit more thought into their craft. You know?
And how would you recommend that? Let's say you have a new artist you're developing. How would you recommend that?
Take into account everything. The voice is important. Your look is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think people get kind of sidetracked by that. Again, it's show business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go on stage, how are you going to present yourself? What is your image?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, you know, I think forget about that. They have great voices, they're great musicians, but there's not a lot of thought put into, you know, we can go anywhere and see somebody that looks like they're walking down
Hanging
the
out.
street.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, if you're going to go see someone perform and that person is performing, give the audience something.
Right.
You're giving them your music, that's great.
Right.
Give them something else. Give
You
them
want to give them
more.
something aspirational.
Right.
You know, I always say that one of the things that I find when you're performing, you know, when I look at music, I just saw Greta Van Fleet a few
Great.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about polish, talk about a voice. And to think that 3 of them are brothers,
Yeah.
I mean, that's great genetics.
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow. Blown away. So you feel like this is something that needs to be learned early on and developed, or is this something that, you know, people... I think what I want people to understand, especially aspiring musicians, is that we're looking up to them. So we come here, we see them. There's something that we can all aspire to be. Like when I was watching Greta Van Fleet, I thought, okay, this guy works really hard for that voice, and he takes care of it. You can tell. So you're saying, how do we implement that into the new up-and-coming talent?
Right, and well, in the days of record companies, there was artist development.
Right.
There are no more record companies for the most part.
Right.
People are becoming famous by hits on YouTube or some other form of social media.
Do you resent that?
No,
Okay.
I don't. And you know what? I mean, I've always felt like God bless him. However you get to the mountaintop, more power to you. I think what's changed in that is there's nobody to really give them the guidance. Because if they start getting hits, they figure, I must be great. I'm doing something right. And that's not always the case. You know, you may become famous, but you may be a drop in the pan too, versus the longevity of a career. Question for you. What artists are brand new artists today that 10, 15 years from now we're going to be listening to as classics? And there may be a couple, I don't know, but I think the majority are, you know, they're very trendy. You know?
Trendy, yes. I mean, I listen to a lot of Spanish music. So I listen to like reggaeton. We have people like Daddy Yankee, Bad Bunny, Becky G. Those are people that I can see standing the test of time.
Absolutely.
Only because, but it's also new, right? It's breaking out. We had the Despacito that made it, you know, crossed over. But I think, and that's also part of the Latino culture. We live to present.
And your music is so important to you.
So important.
Right?
And dressing sharp.
Yep.
I mean, that's part of our culture. So I guess you're right. Maybe it's something that's within you or you have to develop. But to your point, we do have these artists that are new and maybe they just don't understand that part of it, that we're looking up to them. When I was talking to you about environmental sciences and sustainability, and you're wondering what's going on with the ocean, like, talk to me, Eric. I was just so intrigued that that's where your mind was going. So it's about developing that passion for music and the entire performance, right?
And they do go hand in hand. I mean, people might be wondering what's the connection between any of the arts and the environment. I mean, my God, they are one and the same. We can't do what we do. Inspiration for us comes from looking at the ocean, standing on a mountainside and looking at something. That's inspiring to us.
I love that.
If that's gone, what are we going to be inspired by?
Tell us one of your biggest inspirations, maybe as of late.
I can give you one.
Okay.
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh,
there every summer.
That inspires everybody.
You get off the ferry and the smell is enough to make you want to write a song.
Yes.
Beautiful. And you start going around the little towns on the vineyard and it's got its own thing. There's a vibe on the vineyard that you can't help but want to write music up there.
Right.
There's an example of.
But don't you think we're pretty fortunate to be regional, to be New Englanders? I mean, there's so much of nature available to us.
Well, yes. You know what's funny? The winters come. And every January, February, and March, I'm looking, I've got to move. Where can we go? We'll go
How
to
many
the
times
Caribbean.
have you moved? Exactly.
Well, now you start thinking, okay, well, Hawaii,
right.
Suffering these incredible disasters with the volcano
that's
now.
Right.
My son's in Los Angeles. You guys have earthquakes.
That's right.
No matter where you go, there's going to be something. We have winters. And it might not be my favorite time of the year.
But you can ski.
You can ski.
Yeah.
It's very pretty. You get your rum toddy and sit in front of a fireplace, and it's lovely.
Well, tell us about this acting.
They were fascinating. When I tell you the name of this act...
NDA?
No.
Okay.
No. I actually was in Kingston producing and writing with them.
I'm jealous.
Really, really talented group of guys.
Uh-huh.
This was about 12 years ago. And the idea behind this band was they were going to be a Jamaican Backstreet Boys.
Oh.
So they brought in a producer and a songwriter from the United States to try to give them that Backstreet Boys NSYNC pop sound.
I love that, yeah.
And they were amazing.
Okay.
I did several songs with them, some demos. I still am pitching the songs. They're great guys. The name of the band was called To Isis, which in Jamaica is something like to love or something to the Lord. It's something very positive.
Okay.
But then ISIS comes along. And these poor guys got trampled, changed the name, which they had spent 15 years building.
Okay.
And they did that, and little by little, it just got so difficult for them, they just started fizzling apart. And
no.
They're still there individually in Jamaica, and I still keep in touch with them, but it's sort of an unfortunate thing of the business that something like that could happen over a name.
But that's interesting because you're talking about, in this case, political science, right? So here you go,
Right.
your politics, what's going on in the world affecting music. This amazing band that was pretty much ready.
They were good, ready to go, ready to be signed.
And to be introduced to the world.
Yep.
And then you get something like that, and then it kind of changes everybody's minds.
Well, the record
Unfortunately,
company
it
started going,
affects
the
us.
name of the band is what?
I know.
No, thank you.
Okay, so when that happened, how did you deal with that?
Well, we're all very
You
frustrated.
produced it, you wrote it.
And we all believe in it. You do something like that, and it's part of the camaraderie of even the Hollywood All-Stars. You're all in this together. It's a beautiful relationship.
It sounds very spiritual.
It really is. And you know what's funny? You can stand on stage and you're looking at someone, and you might not talk to them every day. You might not talk to them even every month. But in those 90 minutes of your sharing, making that music, you're brothers and sisters. You're in it to win it. You're all in it together. And the same was true with that band. We were all heartbroken when that happened. You're in the studio listening to playback going, oh my God, this is great. This is just what we wanted.
Okay.
It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a big hit. And then things...
So what advice could you give? So let's say, to this one particular group, but to another artist who says, they go out there, they invest their money, they invest their time. I mean, really, how much money are they making as an artist, right?
Right.
Okay, so they're investing their time, their money, their energy. They look for somebody like you, and you guys go all out, and then something out of their own control, just kind of, pulls the rug out from under them. do they stop? What do they do? Tell me, you're a professional. You've been doing this for years. What do you do?
If it's what you do, and in my case, it's what I do. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I joke with people all the time. People will come and see my shows and go, "Oh my God, you're amazing. I can't believe what you could." And I joke with them, and I will tell them 90% seriously, I'm not that great. This is all I know how to do. I can sit at a piano and make you cry, but I can't fix anything around the house. I can't, if you ask me political questions, but the environment's different.
Tell us.
Because that's not I'm sure you'll tell us there are politics involved.
I won't tell you that.
Yeah, well, but I mean, it's the air we breathe. I mean, you can't not be involved in that.
Exactly. You mean oxygen?
Yeah,
I don't know.
A little thing like that. It's our life. It's
right.
So how could you have to be involved in it?
So,
that's the difference.
And that's the spirituality. That is the don't give up attitude. So you're telling people there's another way. So with what I'm doing, I try to inspire people to say, okay, this is the capacity that you have to be environmentally proactive.
Right.
You would say to a musician that had something bad happen and it's out of their control, you would say what? Just try again? If
this is what you're meant to do, you just put one foot in front of the other and you move forward.
And love one foot in front of the other.
You find another way to do it. You write another song. You go get another gig. You go sit in a room and record something. You just keep doing it. Keep moving forward. Don't stop.
Keep that momentum going.
And I had a thought when you said about the spirituality aspect. If you think of the American Indians and who worshipped land.
Right.
And
the combination, right?
More than, and how spiritual are they? I mean,
Yes.
So it is. It's a very spiritual topic.
Very spiritual. And so when you go in there, I'm going to quickly just I'm going to turn to you because I know you develop artists and you develop, a whole lifestyle and image for them, right? But with you and your stuff, how did you say, this is what I'm going for. This is the sound I'm going for, and I'm going to pull from all of these different genres. What was that turning point? Because that's tough to make your own sound.
It is. I'm a classically trained pianist. Started at 4.5 years old. My dad was a concert musician, played with symphony orchestras all over. So having that classical background, whenever I sat at a piano to write a song, that classical music influenced it. Which is funny because it's way different than what I play with a band. And I've worked with James Brown, B.B. King, and I mean, James Brown, you want to talk about a band that just, all you can do is jump up and down all night long. He's like an amazing man, was an amazing man to work with. But it's very different when I sit at a piano to write a song. They come out more classical sounding, love songs. But I think those are the songs that touch people.
Okay.
I was in a songwriting workshop in Manhattan several weeks ago, and we pass our lyric sheets out, and you sit down and you play your song. And one of the songwriters, this woman, hands me the lyric sheet back, and she's apologizing to me as she's doing this. I said, "Why? What's the matter?" And she handed it back to me, Erica, and it was literally wet. She had sobbed all over this lyric sheet.
Right.
And she handed it back to me apologizing, and I looked at her and I said, "Apologizing? You have just given me the greatest compliment anyone could give me."
That's what you
bring someone to tears.
Right.
To move someone to that place with that emotion,
that honesty,
with music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for me the best.
That's
now the other half of that is you want to make people jump up and down and have a ball too.
Sure.
So, but those are the two different parts of me as a musician that I jostle back and forth between.
Now, okay, so when we talk about a musician, we have your performer, what you do as a pianist. I mean, but as a songwriter, tell me, how are you as a songwriter? Isn't that a different person completely?
Yeah, no, it is. And a lot of people have said, the really great writers have said, we don't write songs, we channel them. I sit and I have this process called noodling.
Okay.
Noodling is, I sit at a piano, and I played long enough that I know what not to play.
Okay.
I know what notes won't sound good.
Okay.
But I don't always know what collection of good notes will turn into something.
Okay.
So I noodle. And I will let my hands just drift over the keys, and I'll noodle and I'll play, and all of a sudden something will go, whoa, 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 what was that? And those little magic moments where you are channeling, songs come from those. And you build one moment on top of another, and before you know it, you've got a great song. The music for me is easy. Lyrics are a whole different story.
So did you work with somebody with lyrics?
I have collaborated with people, but most of the songs that I feel are my best songs, I've written words and music for. Wow. But it's hard. Lyrics are a struggle.
It's hard in what way?
How do you say, not all songs are about politics, they're about life, they're about death, but I would say the majority of songs are about love.
Right.
More often than not, a song is a love song. Now, how do you say in a different way something that's been said a bazillion times, you know, and not be cliche?
What's one of your favorite, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to because I'm curious.
Go ahead.
What is one of your favorite love songs?
Oh, gosh. I Hope You Dance, to me, is just a work of art.
Who is that by?
I don't remember who did it. I'm so mad you asked
I
me.
hope you dance.
No, but basically the gist of the song
Google.
is whatever you're going to do in life, take the opportunity to embrace life.
Okay.
How do you say that? I hope you dance.
That's true.
It's the most beautiful way to say that, but that's what I mean, a clever way to say something. You know, you can tell your kid, listen, when an opportunity comes along, you jump at it. But everybody says that.
Okay.
You know, when you hear the music, I hope you dance. Isn't that beautiful?
That's great.
I mean, that's one. I mean, I love Elton John. Some of Elton John's songs are just I mean, there's so many really, really great songs.
Right.
Songs people would consider corny.
Like?
I love corny songs.
Oh,
The Wind Beneath My Wings.
I was thinking that one.
Love that
That's
song.
a great song.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, those are the kinds of songs I write when I sit down and play the
But
piano.
those are what people really want.
Those
they
are the,
want that.
Those
they
are
want
the
corny.
copyrights. Yep.
Come
Those
on,
are the
they
songs.
really do.
They stand the test of time.
They stand the test of time, and
You
I think
know?
that's what you, as a musician, that's what you represent. You've been in this industry for such a long time, and your work, has been so supreme. Tell us about that Grammy nomination. Tell us how you felt. Speaking of supreme moments, how did that feel?
Well, it's awesome, but then the other half of that equation comes in. Nominated, but I didn't win. But
Okay.
So and of course everyone says, well, yes, but how many people get nominated?
Exactly.
It gets to a point where you try not to put too much emphasis on it. It should be about the work.
Right.
It should be about, yes, people loved this song.
Right.
That song moved a lot of people.
What
Now,
was the song?
The song was called Heaven Must Have Sent You.
Okay.
Beautiful song, kind of cliche lyric. Heaven must have sent you.
Sure.
We've all heard something similar. But that was a song that I don't feel it was my best song, but it happened to be in the right place at the right time. It was on a collection of songs, and there it was. And thank you. I appreciate it.
And you didn't think that was your best song?
No, I've got there are lines of songs that I've written that I'm very fond of.
Okay.
I wrote a song called "Thank You for Your Faith in Me." And it's basically a guy to a girl or someone to their significant other, thanking them for standing by through all the hard times.
Right.
And there's a line in that song that I just love. It says, when I had no faith in fate, you saw fate had faith in me.
Oh my gosh.
And if you think about it, that's a really cool line. I've given up. I have no faith in fate. Everybody says fate will...
Sure.
You saw fate had faith in me.
That's...
And it's a nice line. I mean, and there are, it's not the only one, but
Sure.
there are
One of your
some,
standouts,
one
right.
of my lines that I
Yeah.
go, that was a good lyric.
Right.
That was a really good lyric.
Right. It's
You
something
know?
that I think, and that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Everybody's had a moment in their life where they just lost faith, and you're right.
You need something that helps you,
You need
to keep
something
going.
to keep you going, and then to just say, well, you know what? Somebody else had faith in you. It's
Right,
okay.
right.
Whether it was universal, whether it was fate, a parent,
Mhm.
it's you need to know that there is something more out there. And I think with music, and when I listen to your work, it tells us, it guides us that there is like just more out there than what's here. There's spirituality, there's deep feelings. You're emoting all this stuff through an amazing instrument. I think that, I want to say thank you because I love music. And, when I have ever lost faith, music gets me through.
Well, people have said it's the soundtrack to our lives.
Right.
And I don't think there's a more concise way to say it. It really is. If you can imagine your life on a daily basis without those sounds, imagine this earth with no music. And it can be anything. People have said to me, what's the definition of music? Creating emotion through sound is my definition of what music is. If somebody's banging on the stage with a stick and it's saying something to someone else, then that's music.
Right.
It doesn't have to be some technically advanced.
Perfect. Right.
Does it create an emotion in you?
Well, even when you hear the birds
Absolutely.
singing first thing in the morning.
Absolutely.
Yep. You can always tell, like, they sound a little upset today. There's like a vibe. Or
That's a sad song.
They sound, exactly.
Mommy bird's mad at baby bird.
Exactly. But in nature,
Absolutely.
nature inspires you. The sounds of the ocean, the waves crashing.
And the whales and all the,
And the
you know,
whales.
right? All
Right.
the sounds that they make. And where would the whales be if we lose our oceans? We're going to get to that.
I love
We're-
that.
You know what I mean?
We're getting to that. I love
Go
that
ahead.
segue.
How's that for a
That was
segue?
brilliant.
Pretty
That was
good,
brilliant.
huh?
That was like Emmy Award-winning segue. Super. Loved it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, you know, marine life, ocean, the environment. Steve, Connecticut is gorgeous. It
Yes.
really is a beautiful state.
Yes.
I explain that to everybody. If you haven't visited Connecticut, you're missing
You
out.
got to go.
It is,
Come and see us.
you know, we've got the Gold Coast,
Yep.
we have ski, we have everything. Tell us about the changes you've seen in the environment throughout your life. I mean, and I ask everybody that, no matter how old they are. I asked one of my cousins the other day, they're 15 years old, and I was like, what do you see different? They thought, the snow. You know, the snow.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, that's a good answer. I went back and I started to do my research, and I thought, this is an interesting, you know, piece of information he's giving me. What about you? What have you seen?
You know, you would be the person to ask about global warming, and you know, because I guess a theory is that there's nothing different happening now that didn't happen. It's all cyclical. That a lot of snow, little snow. We've experienced all of this through the ages. That we've had periods like this. One of the things for me that stands out, because I love the water. I'm an Aquarius. I'm always drawn to the water.
Oh, and that's why we get along. I'm a Gemini.
See? Oceans is one of the things that I would jump out when you say, what have I noticed different?
Right.
When I was a little boy, Long Island Sound, if you went out in Long Island Sound and happened to find a clam, which I don't know if you would anymore, you didn't think anything about eating it. You could eat whatever's in the ocean.
Right.
The ocean was, you went in the ocean to heal.
Right.
You know, I remember as a boy, if you got your legs scraped, my father would say, go in the salt water, it's good for you.
Right, it's good for you.
Right, it'll help you heal.
Right.
Oh, Dad, look,
Theoretically, it
there's-
is.
eat whatever you find. Now it's scary. I don't know, between sewage and what else is out there, I'm afraid to eat raw seafood anymore, which is kind of sad.
So the ocean is really important to you, and it's really interesting. I was watching a program the other day, and they've actually they saw a great white shark right off of the coast of Montauk.
Really?
So the water's so warm there. You know, you get all these
sharks.
animals that
Oh
are
my
coming
gosh.
into our
Yeah,
the
we
marine
had no
life.
sharks when I was a baby.
They have no. Well, they have nowhere else to go.
I don't remember anybody
Right.
saying there's a shark in the water,
Yeah, and a great
right?
white. A
Oh
great
my
white.
gosh.
So what is it doing in these
Yeah.
parts? So, you know, talking about the ocean, you know, you and I were kind of chatting about plastic and the effect that we are having in our carelessness. And, you know, Steve, it's not about pointing a finger, and it's not about blaming, you know,
Right.
but I turn to you and I ask, how could you as a musician guide us? Could you write a song? I always think about that song, We Are the World.
Yep.
Is there something that you feel musicians can do to inspire us? Because there's no way that we could be that careless with plastic and not understand
Right.
that marine life is being killed. Some species are near extinction, and
Yeah.
that's because of our behavior. What kind of a song would you write?
Something that would give people knowledge. Something, I mean, we could all do concerts. Everybody does concerts for everything, and we raise money, and we do that, and it's wonderful. But you need to change a mindset. You need to make the person who's going to throw the six-pack plastic ring holder, you need to make them go, wait a minute, what was that song saying about don't throw this? I mean, it sounds corny, but I think if we could change the mindset of people, that's a bigger step than raising all the money in the world.
Right.
Money gets thrown left and right, and
Sure.
it really doesn't do anything really.
Right.
I mean, because the people are still out there throwing stuff away,
Sure.
you know?
So that accountability, that influence, you think?
What song would make them think like that? And you know, you're right. Songs, melodies stick in people's heads.
They really do.
Messages like that do stick in people's heads.
Yes, they absolutely do. And so I always remember that. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, we are the world. I was just
Yep.
like, wow. I always think about these kids that needed to be fed and needed fresh water, drinking water. And so I feel like right now, one of my bigger passions, of course, is the plastic in the ocean. But I'm also having, you know, I'm torn as an environmentalist, as a meteorologist. We have issues with carbon emissions, and the options are really kind of, you know, what do? You go with nuclear power, which is absolutely a clean type of energy, but then you have radioactive waste.
Right.
What are people willing to barter within themselves? Something that I call your eco-identity. How do you feel, like what do you feel you could give up? Let me ask you personal. What do you feel you could barter within yourself? Like to say that you're going to help the environment.
I mean, I would like to say I'm a naturalist. I like to try to go organic. I filter this. I do that. I try to stay healthy. the idea of radioactivity, that's a kind of a tough one for me to swallow.
But then the only other option would be what? Fossil fuels. You have natural gas, but still we do have some issues with that as far
and
as
electricity has its own set of.
Well, right. So that's how you would get your electricity, either through fossil fuels or nuclear power or renewables. But then renewables, you have your issue with mining. Those rare earth elements that are absolutely heinous and carcinogenic once the earth is opened. And then you have hydraulic fracturing for the natural gas. I don't know, Steve. I turn to somebody like you because you're creative, because your influence is a lot more subtle. If I come into a room, I'm going to come in strictly science. You come in and you're an artist. You create. You bring us into this world, and so I love that part of you, and I love that you're interested in doing that. So, so when we're talking about electricity, we're talking about power, energy efficiency. What would you say to somebody like me? I have all the science background, but you're that artist, that creative, that you're saying, this is how we polish a presentation.
Right.
How do we go in there and attract more people so that we influence them?
I think if you've had a song, it would be a start, a song that would draw people in, that they're familiar with what that song represents. There's the mindset that's behind that song, Erica, with this sustainability.
And Steve, maybe,
I'll go write it for you right now.
Would you?
I have a song that it's just been sitting around, kind of collecting.
Could we walk over?
You want to hear it?
Sure. You have Leo.
Well,
hi, Leo. Can you follow us over?
Come on, Leo.
All right. Oh, I think I left my bag right there. Of course I did. Because Steve doesn't need it. He doesn't need it at all. All right. So Leo's recording, but I'm gonna go ahead and get my IG going. I definitely would.
This might be Erica's new song. I don't know.
I'm excited. Leo, you got that going?
Yeah. We're gonna have to think of a title. It's currently called "This Thing We're In," which actually might almost work if you thought about it in terms of the country and the state of the environment. This thing we're in, it could work. You have to see it with pictures of the ocean, rolling waves.
No, but it's gorgeous.
There you go, Erica. That one's for you.
Amazing. Oh, that was amazing. Blew me away.
There's your
That's
song.
fantastic. Oh my
There's your song.
gosh. That was so moving. That,
Well, you see what I mean? Isn't that what it's like?
Yes. I wanted to cry, but
Thank
I don't
you.
have waterproof mascara on, so I refuse. I bit the inside of my cheek, people. That's the secret. But talk about the secret. That was beautiful. That was absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for playing it for us all. That has to move anybody.
Well, it moves me.
It moved me.
It does.
You start to feel it did have that power, that feel of the ocean, the waves.
Yes, right.
One of the bigger things we're using right now for power, for energy, electricity, wave power. Wave energy. That was super fluid.
I could see the ocean floating around when I play that
That's
song.
just like a hit.
Thank you.
Well, so do you have
But
lyrics?
what is a hit anymore? I'm working on the lyrics with someone, believe it or
A
not.
hit is something
Yeah,
that
I know.
people
Yes.
feel.
Yes. Well, see,
Why do you feel?
because I'm old school.
Okay.
Back in the day, a hit was
Okay.
lots of CD sales.
Right.
Now, well, and I mean, I don't want to get off on a whole tangent
No,
about
no.
this, but back in the day,
Okay.
if Celine Dion put a record out, if NSYNC put a record out, if blah, 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 put a record out, it was nothing. It was nothing unusual for the first week of release for those records to do 2, 3, 4 million units on the first opening week. Now, a big record is 100 or 200,000 copies. If you sell a couple of 100,000 copies, which, by the way, you're not even gold at that point, it's considered a big success.
But let's talk about that. Is this because of digital downloads?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. And the other part of it, see, one of the reasons record companies did not want to go the way of digital downloads, they liked, and as a songwriter, I liked, people having to buy the whole album.
Right.
If I had the 12th song on a Celine Dion record that had My Heart Will Go On it, when those records were sold, I was making the same money as the guy that wrote My Heart Will Go On, because I had a song on that album. The difference is the guy that wrote My Heart Will Go On was getting the airplay royalties because it was being played on the radio all day long, so he was getting a bigger bang for his buck on radio.
Okay.
He was getting a bigger bang for his buck on sync royalties from the movie.
Right.
But I was still collecting on every album being sold.
Okay.
People didn't want to pay $16, $17 for the one song they liked.
Okay.
Record companies didn't want to do that for obvious reasons, and then digital downloads came, and in the beginning it was like the Wild West out there where
Sure.
people weren't even paying the 99 cents for a song.
Right.
I had people coming to me, oh man, listen, here, I got this album here, and I didn't want my son. God bless my son, who was at the Berklee College of Music, was like, Dad, I got all these albums, but so-and-so let me down. I go, well, what are you doing? You're killing me.
Right.
But would you go, if your father was a baker, would you go, I want free bread for the rest of my life? I mean,
Right.
Nobody got the connection.
But
But
can I
Go
present
ahead.
one argument?
Yes, you may.
I want to present
You
one,
may.
and I think you'll forgive me for this.
No, go ahead.
Don't you think, okay, I want to ask you, how could I, with my background in sustainability, help you develop and become friends with digital download? Because it is environmentally
Oh, no question.
a lot.
I will give you that. No
It's a
question.
clean
We don't have all
way.
the plastic from CDs.
Exactly.
No, I'm with you. I hear
Right.
you.
So in other words, a song like this, this thing we're in,
Right.
this environmental predicament that we're in, don't you think you could partner up? I mean, and go in there with, waving a white flag to a company would be like a Spotify?
Yeah. I mean, I would need to go in and record the song and
Sure.
do an actual recording of it.
Sure.
Whether or not it even had lyrics at this point, who knows? It could be an instrumental
I actually
song.
thought it was
You
more
know?
just as an instrumental.
I mean, I like it like that, but I mean.
But you'd be leading the way,
Yes.
and I think that's, talking to somebody like you are a forward thinker. I think it was funny, one of the projects I was working on was called Zero Waste Music. So pretty much having a studio that is, LEED certified,
Right.
absolutely clean in every capacity, only digital. So I just wonder, how could an artist, a musician, a writer, pair up and make it of value to both. I understand everybody wants to make money, but there is a point right now where we have to focus on what's really important. And yes, the CDs, the plastic, I'm happy they're gone. Am I happy that there's a musician that isn't making as much money? No, but how do we now bridge that gap? We call that in our field the value action gap. Putting your money where your mouth is. How do we now say, we're going to help you. We're going to be really, digital music is so clean.
Yeah.
It's clean. It's great for the environment. How could you take advantage of that? I mean, you could be a leader, no?
Well,
How
yeah,
could you?
that's $1 million idea right there, to have artists fairly compensated.
Then cut. I'm kidding. That's Steve's idea. Cut. Don't put it on there.
To be fairly compensated. I mean, I've got friends that have written very successful songs that, when you hear what they're making, it's like mind-boggling to me. Like $6,200 off a song like Happy by Pharrell. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me?
Okay.
Really? So, what do? You never notice now there are a lot more acts out there touring?
Sure.
That's why. That's where they
But doesn't that bring it back to that organic thing
yes,
that you're saying?
Yes, well, and I mean, there's nothing better than live music.
I mean,
you love to perform. That is what it's all about.
Right.
You know, the audience here laughing and talking to you while there's nothing better than that.
That's what feeds you.
The studio is its own thing. It's,
sure.
You know, it's like, for me, because I'm a control freak.
Sure.
And a perfectionist.
Oh.
And if you put those two things together, it's like, oh my God.
Psycho. I'm kidding.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you get in the studio and now I could do whatever. It's like
Sure.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Sure.
I can make this song exactly what I want it to be.
Okay.
You can't do that live, but the rewards you get, I think, more than compensate.
I mean, that was awesome.
That. Thank you.
That honestly, that performance was brilliant, perfect. And when I listen to this, and of course you're a perfectionist, you're trained, your ear is trained for this. But I listen to it. You know, we have an audience member here who listened to it, and it's mind blowing that you came up with that. So I feel like, is there a way that you could lead that way for artists, young artists, to start saying, we're going to start embracing it, because there's a certain point in life where you just can't keep fighting, and you can't keep swimming upstream.
Right.
So how do you then take full advantage of where this world is going, where we are really trying to save, we're trying to, find all of these alternatives. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I actually think that, of course, this is, a musician might just be furious at me after this, but I think as far as the environment is concerned, the planet, you have such a leg up, because you could perhaps, partner up with a company,
right,
and do these exclusive songs for them and have them be the record label, but everything is digital, and perhaps there has to be an increase, whether it's a couple of cents, to figure out how you can make your money.
Right.
But I mean, that's something to think about. Do you feel that, or do you feel like that's too far-fetched?
No, I don't think anything's far-fetched, and
Okay.
I do agree with you. You can't bury your head in the sand and, say, well, I'm old school and, stinking downloads. I mean, this is where we're at. This is the future, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this to you because it sounds so ignorant. Mm-hmm. But in talking to you just now, I never really thought a lot about, CDs. I didn't think about the plastic waste of a CD. I was only thinking about the mechanical royalties on a CD. Mm-hmm. I never thought, but those CD cases years down the road, and here we are where people aren't playing them anymore, all have to go somewhere.
Where are they going?
I mean, a lot of people's bedrooms, I guess, they're making nice little collages with CD, but the majority of them, billions and billions, I don't know, Erica. That's a scary thought.
Right, where'd they go?
I never thought about that before talking to you today.
Right. Well,
I swear to God.
Well, I'm glad that I could bring that awareness to you,
my God.
You're bringing an awareness to me about the marriage between art, music, and environment, and that was so inspirational. I could totally hear the ocean. I could hear nature in that song. And I'm glad that I could bring that to your attention, because sometimes one of the things that we do learn when we're talking about sustainability to everybody, my background is in meteorology and broadcast meteorology, and I love the viewers. I love that they are passionate about the weather, because my job is to keep them safe, and your job is to keep us safe. Really, as a musician, your job is to say, I am in a power position right now, whether I might not feel like it, I am. My music is out there. That song goes out there, somebody's crying, because I was about to.
Yeah.
So it's, I feel like you're in this position that you can just lead the way and make this all clean. We're talking about clean, renewable music. There has to be a better way, and I'm glad that I brought that awareness to you, because we don't bother fighting uphill battles. We don't. In our business, in sustainability, now that I'm working on the business side of it, music is a business.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, weather is a business.
No, I'm sure.
Climate is a business.
Yeah.
Sustainability, oceanography, everything is a business. And I'll tell you why. It's all a commodity.
Right.
How can somebody make money off of a hurricane, for example? My best recommendation, the next time you see a hurricane coming, invest in the stock market. You need to rebuild infrastructure.
Yeah.
Take your $500 that you were going to spend on a dinner or an outfit or something, and invest it in the stock market and buy some cement.
Right.
Invest in a company that builds infrastructure. So it's finding that alternative. Like I don't know of any Avenger, any superhero that's like the hurricane stopper. So I haven't seen him
Although
yet.
I thought you might have been today. I was following you on Facebook, and for a minute there, I thought you were going to do
That
this.
tornado.
I was waiting, but that didn't happen.
No, I do not have those powers yet. But I think that, this is an opportunity to say, why fight it? It's very, I know it's very Gandhi, and it's not, maybe it's too idealistic, but what's our choice?
Right.
You don't fight it.
I don't think
Martin
money
Luther
is
King.
an evil thing either. I
Right.
mean, we're talking about the commerce and the commodity of
Sure.
everything. I don't think that's a bad thing
No.
as long as the work gets done.
Sure.
And, the awareness of bringing people's attention to this. I mean, everybody knows don't litter,
Right.
But
do they follow? Oh, let me
No.
tell you, I'm the litter police.
Yeah,
I'm
I
the
know.
eco police.
I know.
You better watch it.
And I'm always, walking around on a street and seeing a coffee cup, and I'm the guy who picks it up
Right.
and crumples it up and waits till I get somewhere. But somebody threw
But
that.
that's good. Then you're doing
Yeah,
good.
and I know I don't want to say, but I'm only one person because one is better than
One
none.
is enough.
And if there were a million of me, then that's
Right.
a million coffee cups getting picked up.
And there are. And again,
Yeah.
that's who you are, who you represent. You put a lot of effort into everything that you're doing. One of my favorite entrepreneurs, really, Ray Anderson.
Mhm.
He had a huge company, or he has the company he passed, but he talked about doing well by doing good. His company actually made more money once he went green.
Mhm.
How can music go green?
Well, that's a good one. That's a very good one. You've given me something to think about. How can music go green?
It really is important because instead of, I always listen to like Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. There's no battle, there's no
Mhm.
fighting. We're just going to do this a different way.
Yeah.
We're going to do this a better way. Everything can be reinvented. As much as they say don't reinvent the wheel, sometimes you just have to figure
Yeah.
out a way.
And I think a
Or
lot
don't
of
use the wheel.
Too is the person that you are. If you're people you're mentioning, they were so focused, but not in an anxious way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There was a calm focus there.
But I find musicians are very calm.
Well-
or no, what do you think? There might be one or two exceptions.
I've seen instances where we're not so calm, but I mean, I think for the most part, yes, what you're saying is true. I mean, the way we approach life
Sure.
is a little different than, I don't want to say the normal person, but we do have a little bit left of center approach to life, no
Right.
question.
Right.
It's what we do.
Mhm.
We see things a little differently.
Mhm. And
We
you-
absorb and turn that into something.
Right, that's that energy.
Those
Put it out
songs,
there.
the performances, musical performances, they're what we were today.
I love it. I love it. So Steve, now that we kind of are talking about an environmental green movement for music and going with the flow, not swimming upstream. That's useless. We all know that.
Right.
Of course, we're being interviewed, and now, I want to keep your ideas private. But do you like that idea of going kind of more green in music?
Yeah, I do. And as I said, I'm not the person that's fighting to bring CDs back. I think that where we are, there are many, many advantages. You pointed one out to me I wasn't aware of. The CD waste is no longer an issue as much as it was. There's a convenience, certainly, to being able to just go on your phone and, oh, I heard this song, I want it, and you have it. And,
Perhaps partner up with a company like
but
mine.
then our phones, the batteries in our phones. I mean, where do we draw the line, Erica?
Right.
See this
But
discussion.
this is called. But now this is. I love this. This is where we
So now what?
we talk about fungibility. So again, that's something else that we talk about in sustainability, in environmental studies, and energy efficiency. It's like a type of currency. You're bartering within yourself, and you're saying, look, I'm going to go green when it comes to my music. I'm no longer going to be annoyed by this. I'm going to put out all great energy. I'm going to go with the flow. I need my phone if I'm going to digitally download this. Unfortunately, we do need like dysprosium. We need certain metals
Right.
that are not the healthiest to extract, to mine. But there is, at least within you, there's a bartering system, within your
understand what you're saying,
identity
right.
as an environmental being. You don't
Mhm.
have to, hug a tree. You are aware of what's going on in the
So you're
environment.
saying don't go black or white.
You can't.
There's a gray area in the middle,
And-
and that you find that.
There's a comfortable area,
Right.
and I think that goes for musicians, that goes for meteorologists, that goes for a nurse, a doctor. It goes for anybody, because I think that's when I listened to you, and while you didn't know this, while we were chatting and inboxing, I could tell that you're so open, and I'm thinking, I don't. We had some questions that we were gonna discuss, and we'll get there, but I like this. I like that we're bringing this part of you out.
Right.
That I think a lot of people wouldn't see otherwise, because you're up here and you're polished,
Yeah.
and you're doing what you do, and people are seeing this like almost perfect, flawless
Yeah.
performance, and they're like, "Oh, he's perfect. He's flawless." But no, there's more to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I saw when we were corresponding. And I love it, and I love that you're so aware of that, and your power to move somebody. We'll remember that. It wasn't complicated to remember.
Music, that's one of the things I love about it. It really is a very powerful medium. Again, the sounds of music. I can't imagine our lives without it.
No.
It would be awful. Like I can't imagine our lives not being able to go jump in the ocean.
Really sad, and that's where we're headed.
And I'm filtering water like crazy now,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else we do to try to stay healthy. And I'm on board with you. That's why I'm here. I see all those things happening, and if we could make a little bit of change while we're here and leave the planet a little better for the next people to pick up where we left off, maybe eventually things would improve. I think you could tell me, things are improving ecologically, aren't they? Are there areas that you could say, Steve, we're better now than we were 10 years ago?
There are I kind of love what you just said, and I want, when we edit that, let's go ahead and I want that to be a clip. That was perfect. There are, and I think it's in the awareness, in the effort, in the, look, I can no longer fight this battle. It's not worth it. You're saying, I want to be more effective when it comes to my energy consumption. What do? Do I say, nuclear power, it's expensive to invest in. We'll be left with radioactive waste. We can definitely, where could we put it? Coal, fossil fuel, shale oil, can we really afford to keep fracking? I see advancements in the technology and the engineering, in the true desire, but then I think ultimately it falls in our hands. Like, how do we approach this situation?
Right.
How do we say we're going to be more efficient? Like in Los Angeles, where I live now, and your son lives there, a lot of people bike ride, or we walk everywhere. I live in Marina Del Rey, and we walk everywhere. And so how do you start to barter within yourself? How do you negotiate? And I think now what I can say is better than even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, is that we're negotiating within ourselves and really what's right and what's wrong. I mean, theoretically speaking, is it easy to say, and have it be somebody else's problem? I suppose. I could never do that. You could never do that. But I suppose some people feel like that. But then they say, well, throw it away. And I'm just wondering, where's the way?
Yeah.
Because there's no way anymore.
Because it does.
Where's the way?
The buck does stop somewhere, doesn't it?
It stops here.
Yeah.
And so I think what I'm seeing as far as the improvement goes are the efforts in the engineering. And perhaps, there are some big corporations that are doing it because they, first mover advantage. I want to get there first, and I want to do it better. So that's okay, because as long as we come up with solution, like I say to you, be the first musician that comes up with this whole concept and develops it. I mean, I always feel like that's something like a Dr. Dre would come up with, right? Because he's forward thinking, and you give me that vibe. He's very smart. He thinks ahead of the curve, and I think that's how you are. And I feel like, why not go with it? And I think that's where we are better now than we were a few years ago in the willingness, and even the willingness to listen. I don't want to call my mom out now, but I got to call her out. Boy, that woman knows how to leave that faucet running. And I'm just like, Mom, cut the water. I had to sit her down, and I was like, there people on the planet. There are people that don't have fresh water. Where you look at a place like India and all of that, the pumping that they're doing, and California. We need water.
Right.
So something like that, I can call her out on, and she starts to okay, but in her time that wasn't something that
nobody thought about it.
She didn't think about it.
Yeah.
She just thought this was a great country we live in, which we do. We live in a great country, but now it's about that kind of I say entrepreneurship in what you do. Like, be an entrepreneur, set a standard, go out there and make something new that hasn't been done. And that's where the environment is going right now.
Right.
It's about being an entrepreneur. It's about doing things your way so that you can leave your legacy here so that when you're gone, you have a son. But your son is also into environmental things. It's about leaving your mark on the planet.
Right.
It really is.
And you know what? I think if everyone watching this could just walk away with the idea, I'm going to do my little things that I can do today.
Yeah.
That's a start.
Yeah.
That's a beginning, to be able to say, I'm going to turn the water off today. I'm not going to let it run while I'm shaving or brushing my teeth.
Right.
I'm going to turn the lights off when I leave the room. Those
Sure.
little things will make a difference. And if they walk away changing that little habit, that's a step in the right direction.
That's amazing.
So.
I love that. So with this song, this thing we're in, and your passion for the environment, and this amazing band that you have, put together, and all of your hard work and years of dedication, who's Steve?
Oh boy.
Tell us. Tell us about.
Steve's a mess, Eric.
What do you want people to remember you for? And very quickly, you're very kind. You're very sincere.
Thank you.
I would say he's kind, he's sincere. What would you say?
He's real, right?
He's real.
I have never been someone, I'm pretty much what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I never learned the art of, I don't want to call it deception because that sounds so bad. But I couldn't never help be anyone but who I am.
Right.
I never wanted to really be anyone but who I am. I never thought, and I obviously can come and sit with you and speak appropriately, and I might not be exactly the same with my friends with a couple of martinis across the street.
Who is?
But for the most part, that's who Steve is. What you see is what you get. I tell you how I feel. I tell you what I like, what I don't like. When it comes to the band, I don't rule with an iron fist. I love the people in it. I love my friends that are in it. They're all so talented. I want them to feel free to make suggestions. That's why I enjoy working with people of that caliber. I'd be stupid to just sit there and tell them what to do, although there are moments that happens when somebody ultimately has to be the guy to say, we're going to do it like this.
Okay. But I want to just mention, you brought something up like just
Yes.
now. I'm thinking.
Yes.
People of that caliber.
Well, then, yeah.
That's important.
To me, yeah.
Of that caliber.
Yeah.
You're saying that this is like the best of the best, the cream of the crop, in perhaps their professionalism and in their actual talent. Don't you think that's important? You want to associate it when it comes to environment and music. I like that you said that, because you're not just saying I'm just going to accept anything.
Goes back to polish. I want it right. I want it polished. I want it to be right. And that can apply to the environment. It could apply to anything, I don't like anything done halfway. I really don't. I'm not a halfway kind of person. It's all or nothing for me. And I've joked with people that know me really well that my epitaph will read, anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. Now, that can sound bad when it comes to the environment. However, if you think about, if you're the kind of person that wants to protect the environment, I will protect it to excess. I will give it 110% to do that. So anything that's worth doing to me, do it all. Do it 100% or don't do it.
Cut! That was perfect. I love the way he ended it. But there was like that other part I liked too.
We got a lot of good spots, Erica.
That was so good.
You were so easy to talk to. Here.
Oh my God, thank you.
That was a piece of cake.
Oh my gosh, did you see that? Don't you feel like he could lead the way in like green?
Poor Leo's going to be like editing for.
Leo!